Hello friends, very good afternoon. Welcome back to yet another episode of Manju's Testimony. Today we're gonna talk about OET reading part C. I already did a video about OET reading part B. If you guys did not watch that video, please go to my video list and see that video. I will give the link in the description box as well. So today this video is an in-depth analysis of part C. I will tell all the details about part C with examples and detailed explanation. So guys, please watch this video till the end without skipping. Trust me guys, I guarantee you that you won't be left with any doubts after this video. So let's start the video. As we all know, part C has two long extract. Each extract has 8 questions with 4 options. You have 45 minutes for both part B and part C together. So you can choose as per your like. Either you can do part B first or part C. It's as per you. Okay, but it's better to write part B first because part B is comparatively easy than part C. Unlike part B, the best method that you can use here is the read the question first, go back to the text, come back to the option and find out the answer. Elimination method is the best way that you can find out the right answer here also, like part B. Okay. So let's go to the examples. Today we will see one extract with 8 questions. I'm gonna tell you not really about the reasons behind the right answer, but also we will see the reason or rationale behind all the wrong answers as well. So guys, please stay with me without skipping the video. Okay, so let's go together. How does one taste? This is the extract what we are going to see today. I forgot to tell you one thing, that you have to number the paragraph before you start the questions. This is because questions are based on paragraphs, right? Suppose one of the questions asks you to find out the author's opinion in third paragraph. So in this case, you don't have to waste your time to find out third paragraph if you put the numbers already. So always remember to number the paragraph before you start to do the questions. Let's see the first question. For easiness, I copied the paragraph with the questions. We have to avoid unwanted delay for scrolling again and again. So let's read the question. What point is made by the author in the first paragraph? As I told you before, in part C, we have to read the question first, then go to the text and come back to the option to find out the answer, right? This is because if you read the options first, you have a tendency to go to the text to find out some of these options. You will search for the options only. But in part C, we have to read the text completely to understand the complete meaning, to eliminate the wrong answers, to find out the right answer. But in part B, it's okay to read the option first and then you go back to the text, because in part C, we will get the right answer by searching the keywords. But in part C, the keyword searching won't let you with the correct answer. We have to read the text completely to find out the right answer. So let's read the first question. What point is made by the author in the first paragraph? Here in the question, you have to notice 2 words, that is what point and by the author. So we have to find out the author's point from the first paragraph, what the author is pointing in the first paragraph. So let's read the text. Imagine we could rewire our brain so that taste we usually crave became unpleasant or even nullify responses to taste completely. Now, research from a group led by neuroscientist Charles Zucker of Columbia University's Zuckerman Institute suggests this may be possible. The research shows the brain is hardwired to generate responses to specific taste, and the resulting feelings of pleasure or revulsion separate out from the qualities of taste that allow us to identify them. Knowledge of this circuitry might eventually allow scientists to switch off a craving for sweets by altering or blocking these responses. So now let's go back to the options. First option, if we could modify or nullify a response to taste, we could rewire our brain. The way human brain responds to different taste in inborn. Option C, a team of neuroscientists has successfully switched off a craving for sweet in some people. Option D, our responses to different tastes depend on our feelings of pleasure and revulsion. So let's see the first option. If we could modify or nullify a response to taste, we could rewire our brain. So there may be a tendency for some people to put this as the right answer because we have read a sentence which comes like nullify response to taste completely. So we see that word nullify, right? Nullify is there in the text and in the question as well. So there may be some people may find it as the right answer, but this is not the way you should find the right answer. If you are doing in this way, you are doing a big blunder. Okay, so don't do like that. We have to read the questions, understand the meaning, read the options, understand the meaning, and match it with the text. So if we could modify or nullify a response to this, we could rewire our brain. Let's see the text. Imagine if we could rewire our brain so that taste we usually crave became unpleasant or even nullify responses to taste completely. What's the meaning of this sentence? Imagine if we could rewire our brain. So from the first word itself, we can understand that the author is saying us to imagine something. So from that word imagine, we can easily understand that this is not the point made by the author. So the author is saying us to imagine something. Okay, let's read the meaning of the sentence. If we could rewire our brain so that the taste we usually crave become unpleasant or even nullify response to taste completely. So the question is, if we could modify or nullify our response to taste, we could rewire our brain. So this is exactly opposite, right? So in the text it says about if we could rewire our brain. The question says if we could modify or nullify our response to taste, we could rewire our brain. So this is straight opposite, so that we can easily eliminate. Just for your understanding, I will explain the meaning. If we could rewire brain so that taste we usually crave become unpleasant or even nullify response to taste completely. It's meaning that the author is saying us to imagine a situation where our brain would be redesigned in such a way that taste we usually crave become unpleasant. Unpleasant means the taste we usually enjoy. For example, the sweet taste. We enjoy sweet taste and we become happy, right? So the response of happiness will be unpleasant. So the brain would be redesigned to make it unhappy when we experience sweet taste, or even nullify response to taste completely, or even completely eliminate the brain's response to taste, totally cancel the brain's response to taste. The author is telling us to imagine a situation like that. So this sentence is straight opposite to what mentioned in the question. So now we can eliminate option A. The next is option B. The way human brain responds to different taste is inborn. Inborn means innate, from birth, by birth. So this option B says that the way human brain responds to different taste is inborn. So the way human brains respond to different taste is not a new thing. This is already designed. It's already designed to respond to taste. So let's see from the text. Any sentence say something like this. The research shows the brain is hardwired to generate response to specific taste, and the resulting feeling of pleasure or revulsion separate out from the qualities of taste. So the research shows the brain is hardwired to generate response to specific taste, means the brain is already designed to respond automatically to specific taste. So that sentence is perfectly matching with the option B. So let's keep it standby. We cannot confirm it right now because we have already option C and D to eliminate. Then only we can fix B as the right answer. So let's read the option C. A team of neuroscientists has successfully switched off a craving for sweet in some people. So there is nothing in the text says that any scientist or neuroscientist has successfully switched off a craving for sweets in some people. No. The text says that knowledge of the circuitry might eventually allow scientists to switch off a craving. Might eventually means later, maybe highly unlikely. The might means a very less chance. This might eventually allow scientists to. Eventually means later, gradually, later on a later stage. That doesn't mean that something has been found out successfully. Okay. So option C can also be eliminated. The next option is D. Our response to different tastes depend on our feeling of pleasure and revulsion. So this sentence is matching with the sentence in the text. So some of you may guess that this may be the right answer, but guys, this is not the right answer, because this, if you read carefully, this option D is straight opposite to what is saying in the text. let's read it. Our response to different tastes depend on our feeling of pleasure and revulsion. Okay, where is pleasure and revulsion in the text? Okay, here it is. The research shows the brain is hardwired to generate responses to specific taste, and the resulting feelings of pleasure or revulsion separate out from the qualities of taste that allow us to identify them. Guys, the question says that our feeling of pleasure and revulsion has an influence on our response to taste, but when we come to the text, it says that the brain is already hardwired to generate response to taste. As a result, the feeling of pleasure and revulsion comes, right? As a result of the response to taste, the feeling of pleasure and revulsion comes, which indeed help us to identify the taste. So it is straight opposite to what mentioned in the question. In the question, it says that different taste depends on our feeling of pleasure and revulsion, but in the text says the feeling of pleasure and revulsion came as a result of our response to taste. So here the word feeling of pleasure and revulsion is exactly matching with the same words in the text, so we may have a tendency to choose it as the right answer, but if you choose like that, you may be wrong. So from these options we could eliminate option A, option C and option D. Then now we can confirm option B as the right answer. The way human brain responds to different tastes is inborn. It is perfectly matching with the sentence that research shows the brain is hardwired to generate respond to specific taste. So what we have learned from this question is that there are two options which can be eliminated easily. For example, here in this question, option A and C were eliminated very easily, and we have to look for only B and D. So let's see the second question now. What does Zucker's group infer in the second paragraph? Let's read the second paragraph. Zucker's group has previously shown that receptors on the tongue that respond to one of the five tastes, sweet, bitter, salty, sour, and umami, send signals to a specific part of the cortex, the brain's outermost region responsible for higher cognitive functions. Different areas of the taste or gustatory cortex receives input from different types of receptors, creating dedicated regions for each taste. Directly stimulating these neurons using light sensitive proteins activated via fiber optic cables, a technique called optogenetics, causes mice to behave as though they are experiencing specific taste. Simply activate a few hundred cells in the bitter cortex, and the animal not only think it's tasting bitter but execute all the associated behaviors, including gagging, cleaning its mouth, and so forth. Zucker says the message from that was taste is really in your brain. So let's go back to the options. First option is it is possible to experience a specific taste without involving the tongue. B. Higher cognitive functions including taste are controlled by the cortex of the brain. Option C is optogenetic is an emerging branch of neuroscience. Option D, they have conducted experiments only on mice. So guys, from the options, we can easily eliminate options E and D without reading the text. This is because the question is asking for Zucker's group infer. What does Zucker's group infer in the second paragraph? What does Zucker's group infer means what they find out. What is their conclusion? This is the question. So in option C, optogenetic is an emerging branch of neuroscience. That would not be a conclusion. Okay, and option D, they have conducted experiments only on mice. Is that a conclusion? Never ever, right? So option C and D can easily eliminate now. Anyway, let's read the text for options. Option A, it is possible to experience a specific taste without involving the tongue. So let's read the text. Zucker group have previously shown that receptors on the tongue that respond to one of the five tastes, sweet, bitter, salty, sour and umami, send signal to specific part of the cortex, the brain's outermost region responsible for higher cognitive function. Did you see a comma after cortex? There is a comma after cortex, and then it says that the brain's outermost region responsible for higher cognitive function. So here a sentence preceding a noun after a comma represent a speciality of that noun. It is something used to describe the noun. For example, I'm a nurse, comma, one of the healthcare professions. So here, nurse, comma, one of the healthcare profession. One of the healthcare profession is something to describe the nurse. So like this way, the sentence, the brain outermost region responsible for higher cognitive function is something that used to describe cortex. Okay, otherwise that sentence comes after comma doesn't have any relevance in the context of taste. Okay. So just keep in mind, let's read it again. Suke's group has previously shown that receptors on the tongue that respond to one of the five tastes send signal to specific part of the cortex. So it means that there are receptors from the tongue responds to one of the tastes: sweet, bitter, salty, sour, and umami. Umami means one of the five tastes. For example, umami taste, the taste of mushroom, taste of meat, then taste of tomato, then the taste of some shellfish. These tastes comes under umami taste. Okay, so there are different receptors on the tongue which send signals to cerebral cortex when it's experience or when it respond to specific taste. Different areas of taste or gustatory cortex receive input from different types of receptors, creating dedicated regions for taste. So that means when the tongue sends signals to cortex, it's create dedicated regions for each taste. That means there is a dedicated region for each taste in the cortex. Okay, directly stimulating these neurons using light sensitive proteins activated via fiber optic cables. A technique called optogenetics causes mice to behave as though they are experiencing specific taste. So what Suke's group did, they tried to stimulate these specific areas of the cortex with a fiber optic cable. That technique is called optogenetics, which caused the mice to behave as though they are experiencing specific taste. So what Suge's group did, they tried to stimulate the mice cerebral cortex with a fiber optic cable called optogenetics, and what the result was, simply activate a few hundred cells in the bitter cortex, and the animal not only thinks it tasting bitter but execute all the associated behaviors including gagging, cleaning its mouth, and so forth. So here what they have seen after stimulating the mice cortex, that the animal not only thinks it's tasting bitter but also it executed all the associated behaviors including jogging, cleaning its mouth, and so forth. Okay, so from this experience Zucker says the messages from that was taste is really in our brain. So we could also understand the same, right? Because the what they have done is the researchers try to find out try to stimulate the mice brain with a fiber optic cable without putting anything on the tongue of the mice, right? So by stimulating the cerebral cortex directly, they could find that the mice was experiencing all the behaviors like what it's really tasting a bitter thing. Okay, so from this experience they could conclude that the taste is really in our brain, not from the tongue. It is really happening in our brain. We can experience the taste without tasting something really over the mouth. We can, if we have we have something to stimulate our cortex, we can actually experience the taste as like what we are really tasting. So that means it is possible to experience a specific taste without involving the tongue. Okay, so the first option, it is possible to experience a specific taste without involving the tongue, is perfectly matching with the entire text conclusion, and there is a specific sentence also at the last. The message from that was taste is really in our brain. So now we can fix option first is the right answer, but we cannot fix it right now because there is an option remaining, option B. Higher cognitive functions including taste are controlled by the cortex of the brain. Here the relevance of that comma, what I said before, there is a comma after cortex, right? So in the question it says, in the option it says that higher cognitive functions including taste are controlled by the cortex of the brain. We came to know that taste, different tastes are controlled by the brain. There are specific areas in the cortex which experience the taste, right? But higher cognitive function including taste, do you think that our higher cognitive functions include taste? What are the higher cognitive functions? Higher cognitive functions means our reasoning skill, problem solving skill, evaluation skill, then thinking skill. These all are the higher cognitive functions. So the taste is a sensation. Okay, So we cannot include taste with the higher cognitive function. So option B says that higher cognitive function including taste are controlled by the cortex of the brain. So this is a wrong statement, that higher cognitive function is something different than taste. So from the meaning itself we can eliminate option B. Optogenetics is an emerging branch of neuroscience, and the option D we already eliminated. So the right answer here is option A. It is possible to experience a specific taste without involving the tongue. So let's move on to next question. In the third paragraph, the word architecture could best be replaced by. There are questions in C part like this. They have given the synonyms. We have to find out the correct word to replace. So let's read the options: construction, framework, design, evolution. So we need to find out third paragraph. Third paragraph they have already given in italics the word what we have seen in the question. So in this case it's better to read one more sentence before the specific sentence. Then only you can understand the meaning of the sentences to find out the correct word to replace the word architecture. So let's read. The specialization in different areas of the cortex was remarkably preserved. Sweet cells connected primarily to an area called the anterior basolateral amygdala, whereas bitter cells mainly linked to central amygdala. This elegant study provides new insight into the architecture of positive and negative valence in taste and the segregation of sweet and bitter across different amygdala nuclei was stunning. So let's read the question again. In the third paragraph, the word architecture could best be replaced by. Okay, first option construction. From the text, we could understand that this architecture they are talking about brain's design, right? Brain design. So let's see construction. Construction is something. It is a synonym related to building. We are using construction to describe building, right? So it's not something related to explain human body or biology. So next is framework. Framework we are using in chemistry and other biology related areas. So next is design. Design is also not usually using to describe human body or human biology. The option D is evolution. Evolution is also obviously, as we all know, this is something used to describe evolvement. So the best matching word here is framework. So we can replace the word architecture with framework. Okay. So this type of questions need an effort from your side to improve your vocabulary. Try to solve so many part C. You will get a lot of questions like this. So try to find out the meaning and improve your vocabs. Okay. Then only you can easily solve this question. These questions are very easy. They won't ask too much tough vocabularies, but you have to learn at least a few vocabularies to find out to get the right answer. So please don't lose the mark here. It's so easy. Okay. And in case if you did not get the correct meaning, try to understand the meaning of the sentence in which the word comes. Okay, so that you can easily understand the meaning of that word. So let's move on to the next question. In the experiment described in paragraph 4, mice drank water aggressively because. Okay. So now we have to read the text first. Sweet is an inherently attractive taste that induces appetite behaviors like scarfing down entire chocolate cakes, whereas bitter is inherently unpleasant. Bitter taste typically signal poisons, while sweet taste typically signal calorically dense foods, Tai says. The researchers reasoned that the connections they had revealed might underlie the amygdala's role in assigning valence to taste, which then drives behavior. To test this, they used optogenetics to make either sweet or bitter connections into mice amygdala activate in response to light. Switching on sweet connections caused mice to prefer a cage where those with activated bitter connections avoided it. An experiment in which light switched on the sweet circuit when mice drank water spurred the animal to drink furiously, whereas bitter connections suppressed drinking. Activating cells in the mice amygdala was enough to make neutral tasting water either appealing or aversive. So let's read the options. They were kept dehydrated for long. B. The water was sweet. C. They could not suppress their craving for water. D. They felt that the water was energy rich. First option, they were kept dehydrated for long. Did you see any sentence say that the mice were dehydrated? No, actually, let's read the text again to understand the meaning first. Sweet is an inherently attractive taste that induces appetite behavior like scarfing down ended chocolate cakes, whereas bitter is an inherently unpleasant. So the text says that sweet is very attractive taste and they induces appetite behavior, whereas bitter is very unpleasant. Bitter taste typically signals poisons, while sweet taste typically signals calorie dense food. As we all know, sweet is something very tasty and it represents calorically dense food. Calorie dense food are always sweet, right? And here the author says that the bitter is something like poison with very unpleasant taste, right? The researchers reasoned that the connection they had revealed might underlie the amygdala role in assigning valence to taste, which then drives behavior. So to test this, they used optogenetics to make either sweet or bitter connection into mice amygdala activated in response to light. Switching on sweet connection caused mice to prefer a cage, whereas those with activated bitter connections avoided it. So when they switch on the light, which was connected to the sweet area, they have seen that the mice prefer a cage, whereas when with the activated bitter connection, when they activated the light related to bitter connection, those mice is trying to avoided it. So an experiment in which light switched on the sweet circuit when mice drank water spurred the animal to drink furiously, where bitter connections suppressed drinking. So they have conducted the same experience with water. Okay, when they switched on the light related to sweet connection, they have seen that the mice drink furiously, where bitter connection suppressed the drinking. Activating cells in the mice amygdala was enough to make neutral tasting water either appealing. So from all these research, they have concluded that activating cells in the mice amygdala is only enough to make neutral tasting water. The water was actually not tasting sweet or bitter, it is neutral tasting, but activating the amygdala only make the neutral tasting water either appealing or aversive. So in that they have concluded that there is typical role for amygdala in response to valence to taste. Okay, so the first option, they were kept dehydrated for a long time, it is not mentioned there in the paragraph, so we can eliminate this. The water was sweet. Did the water was sweet? Actually no, they just activated the light connected to sweet area in the mice brain cortex. So the water was not sweet or not bitter, the water was actually neutral, so that option also can be eliminated. Then the option C is they could not suppress their craving for water. No, actually the mice were not tasty, it was not mentioned in the text was the mice were tasty. They just wanted to find out mice amygdala's role in response to taste. So the mice were not taste, it is not mentioned in the text like that, so that option also not right. So the last option, they felt that the water was energy rich. So this is the right answer. This is because from the text in this first sentence we have seen that sweet is an inherently attractive taste that induces appetite behavior, where bitter is inherently unpleasant. Bitter taste typically signal poison, while sweet taste typically signals calorically dense food. So when they activated the light in connection with the sweet area, they felt that the water was energy rich. So it was their feeling only that the water was energy rich, because when the light activated in the sweet connection, they felt that the water they are drinking is energy rich, that's why they drink furiously. So that doesn't mean that the water is sweet or water is energy rich. They felt that the water was energy rich when their sweet area activated with the light. So from all these options we could find out that option D is the right answer. So friends, I'm winding up the video now because we already reached 30 minutes. So I will try to divide this video into two parts. The other 4 questions will be discussed in the next video. Don't worry, I will upload the video on the same day. So please stay tuned to my channel, and thank you for watching till now. Wish you all success, and thank you so much. Bye. See you.